late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved living in New York. And my partner wanted to move here. I said no for a while, and then finally you compromise in relationships. And I
Right.
did. I'm from LA. The older I'm getting, though, I mean, this traffic is a real problem. Like I'm at home most of the time, but it's like it's a problem.
It's a
So
problem when it's a problem. Absolutely.
I mean, one
Well,
day. Oh,
you're
go
all
ahead.
moving here. I'm in between San Antonio and Austin and New Braunfels, and it's been the fastest growing suburb in the nation for years. And both cities are the two fastest growing cities. So, yeah, all the Californians are bringing their traffic.
The thing is, like, I don't want to go somewhere hotter than this.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you don't want to come
I know.
here. No, it's so hot here. I love it, but not everybody does.
Like, and it's not dry heat; it's humid heat.
It's humid.
Yeah, I can have. If I had to move to Phoenix or something, I could probably handle that more than the humidity, honestly. So
Nice. I born and raised here, so it cracks my skin when I go to dry places. I can't deal with the dry. So we're all conditioned for different places. And you know what's fun though? Now I got another friend I can visit in LA. So hang down the fort there. I don't want y'all's taxes, but I do love to visit.
the tax thing is interesting because, like, I don't know how much more I'm paying in taxes than you, for example. I don't want to know. I think. I mean, I'm not exact. I'm not being funny. Like, I don't know, and I think that it's probably better that way right now.
Yep. Plausible deniability is a good thing to use in many circumstances. So this is one of those. We'll leave it where it's at for both of our hearts' sake. Tax. Anybody wants to put the answer in the comments, you're welcome to. But I got Matt Gerlach on stage, life transformation coach, and you've been living what you talk about. I really do enjoy. I read through your website and your relationship with your partner and how you've stepped into what I would call being your best self. Like showing up and being authentic. And I greatly appreciate what I read. I look forward to diving into your vision. I'm excited to help some of the audience members learn their worth and how to advocate for what that looks like. And while I don't think we could put a definitive cap on somebody's worth, since I have a feeling we both believe it's infinite in value.
I think you decide your own worth. I mean, nobody's going to value you as high as you value yourself. Well, and once you learn how to value yourself high enough.
And as we get ready to dive into that, I'm going to write that down because we're going to be coming back to that. Along your journey, what are 3 resources that you recommend for visionaries and leaders who are also on this journey of discovering that?
It's kind of random, but as I was thinking about this, there's an author named Glennon Doyle. She wrote a book called Untamed. She has 2 books before that. I'm a huge reader. On my journey, on my growth, my healing journey. I'm kind of tired of hearing myself say healing journey, so I'm trying to call it growth sometimes more now. But I found her book, and this woman is fierce and really taught me how to be who I want to be and to stand up for what I need to stand up for and advocate for myself. And the book really changed me, and I love her. And she has 2 other books before this. Her life story is like crazy and funny, and she's like relatable, and she's a mom of 3 kids. She's like, I honestly couldn't imagine a better parent, like a better example. She's not perfect. She apologizes, teaches her followers to do that. She's big. She has, a few million followers now at this point. But that book was really, really important to me. And it also encouraged me to write my own book, which is something I've been working on. The next thing, honestly, like good old fashioned meditation. Are these answers too long, or is it okay to go into this a little bit?
You're fantastic. Cool. We're live. Everybody's going to be excited about it.
So something really big happened to me yesterday, like really, really earth shattering. It involves a financial, something didn't go in my favor. We'll put it that way. Like, this is a really big deal. And I was on a coaching call yesterday, and like he was talking about meditation, and I was like, can I tell you a little story? I told him quickly about what happened. And I'm like, this is what meditation does. I am okay. And the truth is, I am okay. Like 10 years ago, I would have been walking to the gas station and buying cigarettes and outside smoking. I would be passive aggressive, not sleeping. And I can't explain like how meditation does it. There's people that can explain
I
it
love
better
it.
than I can. But it just like it just has taught me that I mean it's helped me be okay.
Yeah. No,
But
to be clear, I want your depth, and the answer is like this. So I know that it's some podcasts and interviews like cut it short and they want to keep it high level, but no, that this is the depth where um, the implementation comes into sight, and it's like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. I can see how that applies to my life. So thank you for it. It will eat into how much we can talk about your vision, but Matt, we can always bring you back if there's more we want to dive into. So meditation for me is also my secret weapon, and I call it prayer, but I don't care if somebody calls it a banana. It's the same thing. The process of, and I like to walk when I meditate. Some people say you have to be on your knees when you pray, and I get what people want to do with their own constraints, but the idea of getting centered, the idea of tuning in to myself and what other powers else exist out there. I've never been able to, I know the value of that source. I should say that I don't need to worry. And if I find a better source someday, awesome. But yeah, it's huge. It's super powerful.
Thanks. Like I can't explain exactly how it's working. People say like my mind's too busy to meditate. I say this with compassion. My mind is busy 99% of the past 10 years when I've been meditating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Thank you. Yes.
Like, but something's happened over the past like few weeks. I've noticed myself like observing myself, and I'm observing myself as like this is pretty vulnerable, but like I observe myself like with so much compassion. Like I'm looking at myself and like, look at that like beautiful human that's sitting there like doing his best to try to navigate life. And it's just I can't explain how it's doing this, but it's teaching me I will be okay. And
I'll double down on that with you, because I think enough people, I think too many people shy away from, and they call it woo woo or frou frou. And they don't, if that's you, if that's where you're still at, feel like you're still uncomfortable with a superpower that you have to deprecate it, or put it down, then maybe you're not fully owning the opportunity to really embrace it. So here I was at Flow Research Collective working with Stephen Kotler's team, and I can't remember his name, but one of the leaders in the company wrote an article about finding happiness with yourself. And he talked about waking up in the morning, hugging yourself, and telling yourself, I love you. There's not too many levels of woo farther and higher up than doing that. And I was like, you know what? I love you. Yeah. And I kissed myself on the shoulder, and I was like, how do I take this up a notch? And it's amazing what happens when we embrace a full appreciation of oneself without self-anger. So what is that called? Putting ourselves above others. That's not, those things aren't connected to each other. Still love everybody else too, but I'm also grateful that you mentioned that, because I don't think people can achieve their full visions and what they're meant to do if they're worried about, like feeling like they can appreciate themselves.
Yeah.
So well said.
Totally great. And then the third thing, I kind of started off with this like specific book, but the third thing on the last two are more general. And journaling, honestly, like journaling, like I did a podcast episode the other day about this, and just like I said three things just for simplicity. I won't go there, but these things are so accessible. Meditation can be 1 minute. Journaling you can do anywhere. You can make it a paragraph. You can make it 2 sentences. You could type it. You could write it. You could even voice note it to yourself. Journaling helps me sort through my mind in such a productive way. Like I literally see like, I don't want to call it busy, just like there's chaos, it's not necessarily even uncomfortable. It's just like, I need to get this out of here on the page, and I start writing it down. But the thing is, and I'm not projecting that you have to do this. I think there's so much power in just getting the thoughts out of your mind. But now what I've done for the past year or so, I set like weekly goals. I go back and review my journal each week. and kind of roll that back into a monthly goal review. But the thing is that I've noticed when like you get to assess your life, like on Mondays and Tuesdays, these problems that feel like they won't ever go away, they do. Like, and you start to see that. I realize that like
Yes.
very consistently by Wednesday or Thursday, these problems are gone. And I think a lot of us strive to take better care of ourselves. I am no better. I mean, I'm no specialer than anybody else. I struggle, on the weekends. I indulge. I like wine. I like desserts. I like pizza and buffalo wings and all that stuff. And I'm 41 years old, and this has been a problem for like I've always felt better when I'm eating better, but like having this like really like noting down like Mondays I feel more anxious or I feel more bloated. Why did I do this to myself? It's helping over time, but I think health is like I'm blanketing this into health, but it's like it's a lifelong process, and I think like
Of course.
the kinder you can be to yourself and realize that we are all harming ourselves in some way. It's
Yes.
allowed me to just like start to like wow, Matt, like you have like a year's worth of journaling here that proves that you like feel better on a Monday when you like eat like a lot more vegetables than pizza over the weekend. And that's really helped, and I'm
Love
see
that.
when I sleep well, I feel better. It's helped me really reflect on my life. So
Very good. There's a journaling, and there's that appreciation for the journal, right? You're actually utilizing it to make sure that you are seeing the progress. And a great friend of mine, when I was going through my first divorce, said, Jackson, you can't watch a tree grow. And he was referring to my changes and how I had evolved as I was striving to save my marriage.
okay.
And I was really grateful for that analogy and that thought process of, okay, I'm not going to be able to see this on a daily basis, but that's also where the journaling and documentation process can really help understand that we are improving much more than we often give ourselves credit for, or than sometimes others give us credit for. And it's important to have that peace of mind with ourselves if we're going to go and achieve great things. It's a very important reality to be aware of. So, Matt, thank you. You already gave us an incredible amount of wisdom, and we're going to be bringing you right back on. We're going to dive into the vision, everybody. We're going to be talking about how to learn your own worth and how to advocate for it, so we can maximize our lives together.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Vision Pros Live. I just saw that edit typo on sponsored by. That's funny. Sponsor Ray is what it said. I don't think that's any language, though. Anyway, I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. I'm excited to have Matt Gerlach on our stage today. And, he's got a depth of wisdom centered around, I would sum it up as far as just being super self-aware. And that skill set of being able to know who you are, know what you want, and being dedicated to finding it. I've been blessed tremendously in my life by discovering the same thing, and in many cases, rediscovering who I was because of situations, traumas, adversities that you face in life that make you start to lose sight of the things that are most important. So he's got a journey and story related to that really touched my heart when I was reading through it on his website. So feel free to check that out. We'll, of course, have in the show notes the action steps you can take with him and his mission. Before we bring him back on stage, though, a couple of sponsors that I want to mention, people who we work with. These aren't even paid sponsorships. I just like to put resources up here that I know you guys will benefit from. So one is Matt. I said Matt. Dave Morrow. Dave Morrow from the Hard to Kill podcast. Hardtokill.org is the organization. He's helping 100,000 veterans lose 2 million pounds collectively. And why is he doing that? Well, there's an incredibly high suicide rate of our veterans because they come back into society. I don't want to actually define the because. There's a lot of reasons that contribute to it. But one thing that happens to all of us is when we start to gain weight or we start to lose sight of ourselves physically and not to feel good about ourselves, that toys with our mind just as much as anything else in life can. But these soldiers, their identity is often based on how in shape they are and how superhero they've become. And so I love that he leads this mission, having fought the fight, having been in the war as well, understanding that, you know, he knows what it's like firsthand to go through the challenge and problem. And I see him doing so much good to help people look good, feel good, and do good. That's his mantra. I was like, I want to share Dave's mission with the world to a greater extent. And then there's Peyton Childers with Magix Productions. Peyton produced, in fact, you're looking at it right now, our event, First Class Networking. He came in to do the AV for it, and he allowed our event to have a series of cameras set up that were all connected, and he ran it like a production studio. And this was just a normal 20 to 30 person event. And he was able to capture the visuals for B-roll purposes. He was able to stream it live to YouTube so that people could participate in it if we had wanted that. His creativity and genius related to event management and providing that audio-visual setup is second to none. And he's got the hospitality skills of a 40, 50, 60-year-old superstar. And I highly recommend, again, checking out what he's up to. And he just recently got into producing podcasts as well. So if you're looking for somebody to help out with launching a podcast, someone of ours, then absolutely check out what Peyton's up to. Then there's the Water Project. The Water Project is a cause that I will never rock this microphone without talking about a cause that's much larger than what we are. I've never been thirsty in my life. Literally, I've always had access to clean drinking water. So when the Water Project came across my desk, and I was like, wow, like I didn't know there's millions. I never thought about it. Millions of people who don't even have access to clean drinking water. And what they're doing is they've created this program, kind of like a Kickstarter campaign. You actually get to pick the community that you're helping. And when you contribute even just $5 to $10 to that campaign, they will keep you updated on that campaign coming to fruition. And so you actually get to see the generational impact that you have. I like to meditate on this and think about how, one, you're going to see this picture of these kiddos. It looks like they're celebrating Christmas Day, like my children, but they're celebrating access to water. You get to have that type of impact. And imagine their parents and how they have to leave work to go get water sometimes, or these kids have to leave school in order to go get water for the community. The grandparents, have hunched backs because they have to carry this water 3 to 5 miles. Like, it's insane what people have to go through. So my hope is that if you're not in a position where you can help financially, that you spread the word about this. Maybe tell someone else about it. And if you know of a cause that you'd rather see us support, then give us the challenge of dropping it in the comments. Allow us to help. There's 8 billion people in this world that we can help out. And it's important that we all step up and do that if we have the capacity to do so. So without further ado, Matt Gerlach, welcome back to Vision Pros Live. Super happy to have you here today, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So Matt, if you were to define, based on the audience you serve, what's your vision for the people that you're serving?
The vision for the people that I'm serving, I would say to live the life that they want for them, like to live the life that they want, to live the life that they want, that they likely don't yet know they like, that they don't yet know they want. The people that I work with, a lot of them are held back by trauma and limiting beliefs around what's possible for them. So like when you're asked what you want, it's very hard. When you're asked what you want for your life, it takes a lot of work. And that's what I work with my clients on. It's, helping them like really strip down the beliefs. If nobody else was in this room, like what would you want for yourself? And it sounds, for a lot of people out there, like I have a lot of people in my life that can answer that question a lot easier than I could have. Sure. And I'm 41. I might have mentioned that earlier. And it's like, I didn't know what I wanted for my life until probably about 3 years ago. And I've been working with therapists and coaches and, for a long time. And I just, was really held back thinking a lot of limiting beliefs. Like, I'm too old to start anew. Like, really the biggest, most damaging thought was, what's wrong with me for not being happy? Like, I had met and exceeded most measures of normal societal and external success. I was always a really top performer at work, making a lot of money. I had gained freedom at work a lot just because of my success and performance, but it wasn't enough. And I help people define what enough is for themselves. And more than that, like I say this with compassion, but like so many of us think that in order for us to have a job that feels good, it won't pay good. And that's not the case. Like you can, I'm just kind of making this up, but like, I hope this makes sense. But like, if you really wanted to like educate people, there are opportunities to be high-end tutors online, or, get in your community and teach people things. Like there are people that will pay a lot of money for services.
I will back you up on that big time. When I met Josh Rossi of fulltimephotographer.com, I was at Video Power Marketing, and we were running Facebook, YouTube ad campaigns, for people who could spend more than $10,000 a month on YouTube ads. I mean, these were people who were crushing it. And so here he comes, and he was coming to our coaching program, if I remember correctly. And he wanted to run his YouTube ads with us. And I'm sitting there kind of scoffing, like, there's no way this guy's crushing it. He teaches photographers how to be a photographer. Everybody with an iPhone thinks they're a photographer. Like, how is he going to win with this? And so I'm talking to Jake about that a little bit, and Jake knew a little bit better than I did, but he was good at putting up with my my lack of confidence in that regard. And he comes in, and man, I ate crow so fast. He was doing 5 figures per week on one podcast, one webinar, 2.5-hour webinar. He just did one of them per week. And, I was like, what? How is this possible? There's so many articles online of people, how to be a great photographer. And in his case, what we learned was, all of that noise that's created in that red ocean has created a reality where those who wanted the absolute success, those who wanted to succeed, were so sick of that they would pay him in a heartbeat to solve the problem, because he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so it was very lucrative for him. And that's just teaching photography. There's so many other things that we can teach. So that's point number 1. You're 100% correct. Moving into what our passion is unlocks a possibility for profitability that others in your life are going to be uncomfortable with. And they might be scared for you, so they might try to stop you, but it doesn't make you wrong by pursuing it. 2, hopelessness comes in many forms. But if somebody is hopeless, it's very, very hard to help them find hope. And that may be the hope of a new career, or that may be, the hope of survival. There's a lot of layers of that. Red fern grows, one of the dog dies, the other dog dies right after, because it just cannot get over the reality of that situation. It had lost hope on the purpose of life. So I'm super grateful that you bring it up. A lot of us are trapped in hopelessness in areas of our life that we may not even be willing or ready to acknowledge yet. And it sounds like you're kind of standing for that, which is pretty cool. So what is your vision for yourself?
My vision for myself is I want to enjoy my life so much that nothing that I'm doing feels like work, And I know that sounds a little weird, because like we are all doing parts of our, like, I'm just, like accounts payable. A lot of us don't enjoy that, but like that doesn't feel like work when it's 10% of your life only, or 5 or 1% of your life, I want to be enjoying so much of my life that the unfun parts like don't even feel like work. And I'm not far from that right now.
I love
it. I've been in doing traditional business type work for the past 20 years almost. And moving into this like coaching mentor type role. I'm started a podcast, writing a book. I'm about to start getting on stages and speaking about my story and inspiring others. Like this is like nothing I've ever imagined before. Like I didn't know life could feel this good. And what's weird about it too is it's like life is challenging too. This is not easy. Like
right.
I mean, like everything that I've taken on, like probably one of the hardest things that I've done, it's like when I started posting on Instagram, like every day. And it's like, you can look back to like my videos a year ago. They were horrible. Like, I mean, they're still not amazing. Like I'm learning.
I'm laughing because I have the same thing on my side.
Yeah. Like, I mean, so but you get used to being a novice, and you get to start realizing that every single person who's where you want to be also started off as a novice. And
Correct.
kind of like rewinding a little bit to what you were saying about the photographer thing, we're at the place, like, being an entrepreneur where, like, you do hire certain people, like you hire like a private coach. There are certain things that I learn on my own because maybe they're a little easier for me to kind of self-teach myself, but like I can also supercharge things and
Yep.
learn them faster and get help to become adept faster. But I
Absolutely.
want to feel so good and helping others and showing people that life does not have to feel the work part of life does not have to feel miserable. And I care so much about financial equality, about people making enough money to survive in today's life. And like the cost of living is just astronomical no matter where you turn your head. And like we need to learn how to advocate for our own worth. And I do believe that a lot of us that work in corporate or work for somebody else, our hands are tied by the amount that they are valuing us. So I'm a big proponent of entrepreneurship, and having started myself a services, my job that my company that I started was a services firm, a sales services firm. And like, I mean, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. You have to be
No.
self-starting. You have to be, driven. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to not be good. You have to take feedback. You have to be willing to grow. You have to have like the ability to take on some risk. But like when you are starting a services company, I mean, you literally only need a computer in a lot of cases. A photographer needs a computer and a camera. Like you're not having to buy a warehouse full of merchandise.
Right.
And I'm a huge proponent in teaching people how to make enough money for themselves that they aren't like worried. Like my dog had back surgery a year ago, and it was like $15,000. Like it would have been really hard. I mean, luckily insurance covered a lot of it, but like it would have been really hard. I mean, I grew up like that, where like we couldn't take the pets to the doctor sometimes when they needed to go, and none of us should have to live like that.
I love that. There's a lot of opportunity for all of us to dive into it or to figure out how to dive into it. And I think each person's course is a little bit unique, but I love that you brought up account payables. And I'm currently handling payroll for our company. Right. And so normally I would have this handed off to CFO. I know some great ones, Cameron, Kinley Accounting. I got to give you a major shout out because you're awesome. But right now I've taken that process back on. And it's a very different feeling these days. We've got 20 team members. And as I was going through and making some payments yesterday and found myself in a position to give a couple of raises, and little raises, very small aspects of gratitude, just to show the team that I care about their contributions, and being able to talk to my team members about, hey, what are your needs? What's going on in your life right now? There's a lot of wonderful emotion that comes with that, good, bad, and ugly, but it is far from like a system. It's far from like something mundane. There's a lot of challenges that come with that, but there's also a lot of rewards that come with it too. I couldn't have realized that, 10 years ago on my entrepreneurial path. I couldn't have seen that could be something that you enjoy, because it seemed like something that was just tactical. So I love that you brought that up. Let's dive into dark subject. What is the worst leadership experience that you've ever had?
I worked with a leader at a job some time ago, and that person was very tight with money. Didn't take care of people, and I think that they thought that they were often getting a bargain by like negotiating down. And I think it's really funny because like a lot of times like we don't really know what the job looks like. Like we don't know what an A player looks like. So it's like we think that like, oh, like, this consultant asked for $4,000 a month. I got them down to 3,000, and ha ha ha, like what a good deal I got.
We were that way. We were that way when I was running my first startups. Absolutely. We haggled people down to the wire.
And yeah, and like you think, and it's like, and I've seen this like where it's like that person comes on board and they're performing at a C level. No one knows any better. And like, good for the consultant, like for I mean, I shouldn't say it like that. Like, it's not funny. I mean, it's just like, but that is the reality. And, I think that like, I am a firm believer in taking care of people. I had an employee recently who went on maternity leave. This is my first time with, dealing with this. And I wish I could have given her more. I gave her 3 months off, and I felt kind of bad about that. And then I learned that like that's like twice what most people give. But I worked for a company once that gave 6 months, and I was like, that was kind of my North Star. That I was like, I wish I could do that, but I'm a kind of a one-man show.
You're not there yet, but you're gravitating towards it, right? And that person too, if that person, the healthy relationship appreciates the process, of trying to get there as well. And so the fact that you want to get to abundance, while we can't justify that and say, oh, I'm just going to manipulate people and make them think I want that doesn't work. But when you're striving to move towards that reality, and if they're part of the team, well, it's a team process to get there. So I love that you're gravitating towards it. I love that you bring it up as one of the worst leadership realities. I think we have to call out most of corporate America. I think we have to call out most small business owners. How many times do we ask the question to the provider, how much does it cost to work with you? Mm-hmm. And the underlying reality of that backhanded question is, what's the least amount I can pay you? Mm-hmm. You can't recruit LeBron James asking that question. You can't recruit the best talent. The best talent then has to figure out diplomatically how to say, wow, thanks for disrespecting me. It's not healthy.
I mean, even this morning, my assistant, we're contracted for 44 hours a month. And she was like, I need to let you know I worked 60 hours this month. And like, I think she thought that I might she knows that I'm fine, but like, I think she knows, I think she thought that it might not be like as fine as it was. I was like, girl, like you did a lot. Like, this is not a problem. I saw her time tracker. Like, it was fine. And like, I've seen people before where it's like, you work 60 hours, can we like meet in the middle? Can I pay you, 52 hours? I think that would be. And it's like, I'm excited to really, my motivation, like I have like two people that are really, really supporting me and my team right now. And one of my like big motivations, I've vocalized with them over the past couple of days, like I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to invest some more money into getting business growing a little bit more, because I want to give them more money. Like, I don't like that. Like, one of them is my friend. She's like taking this job on. She's like, I'm really grateful that she's even touching what I'm doing for the amount that I'm paying her right now. But I love taking care of people, and it's my dream. I want to have like in my, I call it a mentorship business. Like, I really looking in the pipeline in a few months, I really hope to have, a few really high-end one-on-one clients, a couple of mastermind groups that I'm working with, and some sort of like lower ticket, like more attainable weekly meeting type situation. So I'm calling it a mentorship group. And I want to, I live in LA. My partner and I are doing surrogacy right now. Life is very expensive. But I have noted an amount of money for myself that like, if I made this amount of money, like everything else can go to charity and everybody else. Like, that's something I've noted for myself. And I don't, it's not like a tiny amount. Like, I would live a nice life. I wouldn't be buying a boat or anything like that, but like, I would be able to go on nice vacations and things like that. But my dream is like, I would love to have, 3 or 4 people that are just like supporting me so well and making several $100,000 a year for doing that. Because I know what it's like to make a life-changing amount of money. And I come from, a very blue-collar family. Money was a huge issue. It would be my biggest honor to help people not have to feel that way.
Absolutely. It's huge. And the book that I'm super grateful that I finally read, I regret not reading it 8 years sooner when it came across my desk, is The E-Myth. And The E-Myth does an excellent job of helping us see that there are lots of procedures, resources, templates, and people that are required in order to move these types of mountains. And of course, gamifying, taking care of people, incredible concepts. So what's your best leadership experience ever?
Can I go back to that book real quick?
Of course you can. It's
so good. It recently came across my desk 3 or 4 months ago, and I read it, and my partner read it too. We were both like, wow, it was a very, very good book, and entertaining for anybody that wants to read one of the best entrepreneurial books I've ever read, probably in the top 3.
Yes.
E-Myth, very, very good.
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. And listen to it on Audible, guys. It's his name's Michael Gerber, and he sounds like Michael Douglas, which makes it very entertaining to listen to. So I highly recommend consuming that at least once.
Cool.
Thank you for that. So yeah, what's your best leadership experience that you've ever had?
I'm going to go the opposite. I mean, yeah, I've had a couple. I'll just go with what first came in mind. I worked with a very generous woman. When I moved to New York in 2010, it was my first foray into entrepreneurship. These past 15 years have been spent randomly in the baby product industry. In 2010, this was like a very booming industry and it was largely started in New York, because even rich people like in New York lived in pretty not that big apartments and didn't want to look at like a Winnie the Pooh in their living room. They wanted
that makes sense.
Like more design. So I worked for a company named Aiden and Ane. We created a massive category of swaddling blankets. We brought it was swaddling was made mainstream because of this woman who owned the company, and she's an Australian and brought muslin to America in a big way. And I was 27 years old, and when I moved there, my pay doubled. I went from making about $70,000 a year to about 150. I had a very lucrative comp structure that was just so nicely set up. I think it was if you hit your goal each month, I think you got $3,000 extra just for hitting your goal. Awesome. I might be wrong. Maybe it was 1,000 or something, but I think it was more than 1,000.
Substantial.
Yeah, and it was rather than as a sales leader myself, I do think that when you have this annual goal, it's really hard for people to get excited about this. And at this company, it was a monthly goal. Each month you restarted over. You got your commission based off what you sold. You hit your goal. You got the $3,000, I think. It was a long time ago. But I was 27 years old. Sometimes I think I got some $15,000 checks, and that was a ton of money.
Yeah.
And holiday parties were nice, probably and this was a while ago, but dinner was probably still $300 a person, tons of alcohol. We got iPads, and just really felt taken care of. And and it was just so much more than what you have to do. And that's why I like working in entrepreneurial companies. I like working for founders. I like working for myself now, because there's not, this is the thing about corporate America, that I learned recently, not that recently, but I really absorbed recently. The fiduciary duty of a company, the number one priority of a company, of a corporation, is the fiduciary duty. So a company is laid out where the stockholders, the shareholders, they are more important than the employees. They're more important than the people that are owed money. These people are laid out in the bylaws, I think it might be. They are the most important people in this organization. And that's why the common folk is not taken care of very well in these organizations.
Wow. That is interesting. That's high level thought process to consider. You should go into government. You could be the president. We could use that. So, I'll leave that where it's at. All right. Jumping into an ultra serious question. You can of course have fun with it still, but my favorite question: if this was the very last chance you had to share a powerful lesson with the world, what powerful lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience?
Introspection. The answers are inside of us. And so I didn't really get a chance to say much about my story, but in 2017, I was living in New York. I had just started my consulting business, and I was literally dying. I had anxiety and depression that were so bad I could barely function. I was numbing it with drugs and alcohol and cigarettes, which was absolutely making it worse. It wasn't crazy out of hand. I was more than functioning, and it wasn't I was waking up and drinking or anything like that. But in the evenings, I certainly was, to deal with the stress of it all. And it led me down a path of realizing that I had childhood trauma that hadn't been ever dealt with. A lot happened at school. I was very bullied and ridiculed. I was fat and made fun of, and just really had a hard life at school. And at home, there was a lot of chaos, and a lot of things happened that shouldn't have happened. There was a lot of things said, some physical stuff that really shouldn't have happened. And I just kept it all with me. And I never dealt with it because I thought that I wanted to protect my caretakers. I didn't want to acknowledge that the truth of it. Introspection has changed my entire life. Like I started this off by saying, like, something really crazy happened and I'm okay. I think anxiety in its most simplest form is that your internal needs are not matching your external environment. I know some of us have much deeper anxiety than that, but a lot of us who are suffering from anxiety, it is just like that we're in a horrible relationship with somebody who is treating us poorly, and that could be professional, could be personal, could be romantic, and we need to get out of it. Like it could be our passive or not passive aggressive, our aggressive mother-in-law that lives upstairs from us and is just constantly making us feel bad. Oh, you're eating pastries again, like whatever it might be. Like these things are harmful to us. And me learning to be honest about my feelings, introspecting, has changed everything. And we don't chase our feelings. Like it's not like we're saying like I'm hurt and I'm going to tell everybody how hurt I am. No, not exactly. It shows you a direction. It shows you where to start working. Like I'm constantly hurt by men. Like, well, then that shows you that there's some trauma that you need to start working through with your trained professionals that can help you with that. It's not necessarily like blow up at everybody, although that's appropriate sometimes. Sometimes you need to set some boundaries, but like I was lying to myself for so long about my feelings and just afraid to admit like what I needed. And by learning to admit by touching the stove and saying, this is hot, I don't want to keep my hand on it, my life has changed in every way. I literally don't suffer from anxiety and depression hardly ever. I almost want to say no, but yesterday was a little much.
Sure. I get that. Well, and life's challenges, even if we get to the point of, I'm not Buddha. I'm not Muhammad or Jesus, but I have found that throughout my life, as I've gravitated towards learning those principles, we gain strength, right? We're still going to have adversities that come, and adversities are there to help define who we are becoming. And that's a hard concept for some people to grasp. If you're in the beginning stages of going through trauma, your anxiety is super, super high. There's a great TED Talk on anxiety. I'm sure if you just looked up how to overcome anxiety TED Talks, you'd find several of them. But one of the ones I watched recently talked about how anxiety is treated as a symptom and as a disease, rather than realizing that it's part of it's also healthy too to have. There are certain warnings that it gives us. And I love that you kind of keyed in on that. You said anxiety, and I had to write down, anxiety is our internal, what's going on, not matching the external reality that we're facing. I was like, it's that detector. It's that siren of something's off here. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, introspection, self-awareness, amazing. Go ahead.
And hearing you say that back to me, like also, I mean, thank you for reflecting that back. It's also an imitation. Like if you are alarmed by something, it is, I mean, if you're feeling unsafe and you actually are in a safe environment and you don't feel unsafe, that's a great signal that there's trauma in your past that's in your nervous system that is preventing you from feeling safe in safe situations. It's like the disease to please, it's like people that are always hypervigilant because something needs to be processed. And I want to make it very clear, I don't think these things are necessarily easy. I think that working with, they're simple-ish, and like the point that I'm making is like you need to work with somebody a lot of times to accomplish a lot of this. And I like to say that like by setting boundaries, like there is an immediate payoff. You're getting yourself out of a situation that is harming you. So that's why I said it's like
correct. Simple can be very hard. 10,000 steps per day, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. Yet how many of us do it? There's lots of ways. 10 minutes of walking. So it's not always easy just because it's simple. And I appreciate you sharing that. Now let's look at, we talked a little bit about worth. We can dive in a little bit further on that. We've got a few minutes left. I do want to make time for how do you advocate for your worth? So if you want to define it first and then dive into how to, The floor is yours.
I mean, you can work with me and I will help you advocate for your worth. That's really what I do. I help people to learn that they're worthy of whatever they believe they are. But I think that like there's a lot of things you can do. There's one little like tool that I use a lot. There's a couple things that I want to mention. Like I think journaling is really powering, and making a belief stack where you're writing down 50 things about yourself that you believe. Like, you're thinking for yourself, like, I deserve this raise at my job. I deserve to make $300,000 a year. And if you write down 50 things, 50 reasons why that's true for yourself, you're you're gonna see some changes in yourself. Like in those, I have lists all over the place of compliments I get, things that like I like to write down to look at when I'm questioning myself. But it's a practice. All of this is a practice. And you're not just going to like read a book and be like, oh my God, my self-worth is perfect. But you practice, and you get yourself out of situations that aren't good for you, and you set boundaries, and you realize that you're able to advocate for yourself, and you're valuing yourself. You're taking care of your worth. And the other thing, Mel Robbins, I really like something that she did that really stood out to me right now when you asked that. She has like this high five habit book. And really it's like looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning and giving yourself a high five in the mirror. Like, yeah. I wish that, I think everyone expects there to be some massively complicated tool for a lot of these things. But a lot of it is these simple tricks, just like any way that you can start to like get negative energy, negative people, negative thoughts out of your life and bring more positive thoughts, positive people into your life. That is a lot of the secret. But I work with people on this all the time, help them change their lives by learning that they're worth it, especially working with high achievers that you've proven to yourself. You're a great parent, you're a great employee, you're a great son, a great daughter, you're, a great partner to your part, like you're doing all of these things right. And you're able to do more. You are qualified to get yourself to a new level of worth that matches what you want for yourself. And I help people with that.
So. That's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing many of the little tricks, the little subtleties that we can practice, what it will do for those of you in, just trying experimenting with these realities, journaling, and then using, there's so many ways we can journal too. You can journal your negative thoughts. You can also journal your positive thoughts. You can journal the things that you're upset about and got robbed from you, or you can journal the things that you're grateful for. What you choose to write also has a massive impact and power on how you feel, or at least that's how it's been for me. This is Mel Robbins' other book, or one of her other books, The 5-Second Rule. She is quite an amazing teacher and loves to create simple frameworks. You also talked about this list. Write these lists of what I deserve and what I want out of life. Again, very powerful manifestation exercises that I'm probably going to dive into both of those today myself. Depends on if I can fit it in with my bike ride, but it would be fun. So as we get ready to wrap up, again, I thank the audience, everybody, for being here with us today. We'll have in the action steps below the video the ways that you can connect with Matt. He mentioned an episode or podcast he was on. I'll ask him if he can send me the link for it so I can include that in the show notes, and the resources, of course, will be down there. If you are a visionary yourself and you're feeling inspired, like you want to be on the stage and come and talk to us, then you don't have to be Mel Robbins to come onto the stage. You can be somebody who's not known, that doesn't have a website and doesn't have a presence like Matt and Mel do. But if you've got a vision of serving others, we want you on the show. We want you to come talk to us about it. And by the way, Mel, we would still be very happy to have you on the show too. So Matt, any final thoughts you want to share before I wrap up?
No, I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I just want everybody out there to know that, the only thing that's standing between you and the life that you want is your belief. Like nothing has changed about me. I'm maybe a little bit smarter than I was 10 years ago because I've done a lot of reading and learning, but I am far from the smartest person in the world. Like, I grew my business to where it was making $1 million a year for me. Now I'm moving into this purpose-driven work. My partner and I have started our surrogacy journey. Like, I cannot believe that my life is where it's at today. I mean, 5 years ago, I would have bet $1 million that I wouldn't have even lived to be 40 years old. And it is absolutely possible to change your lives. And if something isn't feeling right, like, it's probably not, so like, investigate, introspect. Life's not easy, but it shouldn't feel hard all the time. Like, there should be a lot of joy in it. So
yes.
Anyway.
And I love that. I know that there's people out there who are going to hear that and gravitate towards it. And if you know somebody that's struggling with that, maybe just send them this particular episode. Send it over and say, hey, I heard this thing from Matt about this book called Untamed, and he talks about meditation, and let them know what you got out of it.
Thank you.
And then that makes it easier for them to say, okay, if they got something out of it, maybe I will too. Fantastic advice. And you got one more thing to say, I can tell.
Yeah. If you go to my website, I've distilled literally like what I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of hours learning into a 6-step guide to start building your dream life. And if you download the guide, you can schedule a free 45-minute strategy session with me, where I'm happy to walk you through it and help you start building that life that you've always dreamed of but had trouble articulating. So I'm here for you. I would love to get a chance to connect with anybody who's interested. So thank you very much for the time today, and I'm grateful to have spoken with you all.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode of Vision Pros Live. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building